Hey y'all, and welcome back to a new video of the next episode of Master Level Puzzles. I believe that this is episode 6, where I'm going to take you down a very hard puzzle that I've recently been able to complete or not complete, gave your pick, and this one is no different. This is a very, very tricky puzzle. This took me around 20 minutes to complete, and it's very hard. So, if you do manage to solve it, or you have a guess, please put that down in the comments. This is white to play and win, and I'm going to give you some time now to pause the video and solve the puzzle for your own before I give you the explanation. All right, I'm going to twirl my thumbs for 5 minutes. We are going to wait the 11 seconds, and that should be enough time. All right, so for this puzzle, we immediately see the idea. We have a pawn on c7 and the pawn on c6, and we're trying to advance it to c8 and make a queen. Right. What black has, why do we not just play c7? Bishop f4 check, and he wins the pawn. Very easy. We know that line pretty simply. Bishop f4, and he wins the pawn. So, the first thing that we have to look at is what to do to stop this bishop f4 idea, right? Can we go knight f7 check? Let's check checks. Why not? After king g7, it's interesting, but we don't have anything. If we go here, simply he just takes our knight, and there's nothing else that we can do. If we come back, he comes here, and he will always be able to sacrifice the bishop for the pawn, no matter what, because one piece versus two is a theoretical draw. Great. So we've gotten that out of our system. Is there anything else that we can do? We have two moves, it seems, to stop the move bishop f4. We have this move king g3, and then we have this move knight e6. Let's go with this more simple one, the one that I can explain away first. Knight e6 doesn't work. The reason why knight e6 doesn't work is very, very easy. It's because of either of these moves, bishop b2 or bishop a3. Let's go bishop a3 just for testing purposes. We have nothing we can do. If we push the pawn, check here, and he takes our pawn. We can't allow that because again, two pieces versus one piece are a theoretical draw, and we cannot get that position. Right. So that doesn't work. So then I guess the very, very simple option is that king g3 is our first move, no matter what. This is our first move. And we're going to be going down a couple of lines here. I have 3 lines prepared. First of all, I'm going to explain away the first one. King g5 is a move that a couple people look at because, of course, it threatens bishop f5, bishop f4, and we always have to find moves that allow this move to be played, right? That's the whole point. The reason why king g5 doesn't work is pretty simple. We simply can go either check here. Let's go knight f7 check here, and then we push the pawn. This square is controlled, and we win. Right. The other line here that trips people up sometimes is this move bishop a3, threatening to check the king and win the pawn, and therefore make a draw very, very easily. The reason this doesn't work is the exact same reason the other doesn't work. We have check, king moves wherever, and we push the pawn. We're not afraid of sacrificing our knight because of queen, and the reason why he can't go for this same thing here, like he can't go here, because simple knight takes. We can't just hang our bishops in one move. But calculating that can be sometimes tricky, and sometimes we forget some types of things, right? So bishop a3 is a line, but it doesn't work, right? So what else does black have? And this is when we have to start thinking tricky. We have to start thinking tricky here. Black has a couple very, very sneaky secrets. The most important one, and the one that we're going to look at today, is the move knight b4. Knight b4. Very sneaky, very, very sneaky. And the idea, you might say, oh, knight b4, that's very easy. We push the pawn. He can't stop us. We push the pawn. Of course, here he would hang his knight in one move, but we push the pawn, right? And you might say that, right? c7. But in this position, actually, bishop f4 check anyway. And this is where the tactics are coming in. Takes here, and he wins the pawn. That's his idea. That's his idea of knight b4. And that's why we have to be careful, all right? So let's be careful here and see what we can do in this position. Because this is the normal position. Everything that we've done so far is forced. King g3 is forced. Knight b4 is 4s. There are no other lines besides knight b4. Also, knight c6. But the issue with knight c6 is that it's just a transposition back to knight b4. They're basically the same move, so we're not even going to look at knight c6. Knight c3, not knight c6, sorry. And basically what we're going to look at is a couple of lines. First of all, we're going to look at c7. Just looking at this, immediately going for the pawn. We're going to be looking at knight e6, stopping bishop f4. This is pretty easily explainable, a way that he wins the pawn and we lose. So we have to defend the pawn. And the other move that we have to look at is knight f7. This is one of the big moves as well. First, we're going to be looking at knight f7 check, because this is the move that's wrong, and I like to start with the moves that are wrong first. Knight f7 check is wrong for a very, very deep reason. The reason why it's wrong, after king g7, we have to realize, first of all, we cannot stop bishop f4. This idea is unstoppable. We cannot do anything about it. So we have to look a little deeper, and we have to see what we can do here. So after c7, right, we push the pawn. A knight can't take it. There's nothing else we can do about that, because otherwise he's just going to sacrifice himself. Bishop f4, take here. This is our position. This is the position that we're going to be looking at. And the reason why this is very, very complicated is because we look like we're about to trap the knight, right? We have this knight almost trapped. We have all these squares covered, and then this square, the knight is hanging right. So we come back, and now this square is covered, and all of these squares are covered, and it looks very, very, very dangerous. There are two reasons why this doesn't work. There are two reasons why this move knight f7 doesn't work. And the first reason, the reason why I threw away the line, it's arguably the more complicated reason. The reason why I threw away the line is because of this move king f8. And there's nothing that white can do. Black is getting out here, and it's over. The knight's escaping, and we've lost the win. We've blundered away the win. It's now a draw. We can look at some lines. This move bishop g6 to stop this, but now the knight comes out this way, and there's no way to stop the knight from coming to this square and escaping, or even this square and escaping. And this is a very, very simple draw. We don't even have to look at it very much. All right, the other move is knight a8, and the knight gets out. This is also a draw. So knight f7 doesn't work, right? Knight f7 doesn't work. So we go back. We go back to the critical position where we had two candidate moves. We had c7 and we had knight f7. Let's look at c7 in more depth. All right, bishop f4 check. This is our line. It's the same type of position. We're still trying to trap the knight, right? We're still trying to trap the knight. And now we even have a better way of doing it. But the reason why it's a little dangerous is because the knight isn't really trapped, because he has this e8 square, and that's what's kind of scary here. If we play knight f7 now, it's a transposition back to the position that we already looked at, and it's a draw. So we can't do that. Now, the move is very simple. This is what we check. King d6. It's very much the only candidate move in this position, and we have to look at it. Now black has two moves. Knight a8 and knight to e8. Knight a8 is easily explainable away because this traps the knight, and we win the game. Now, knight to e8 is the line that we have to look at. And now we're getting to the pretty deep in the weeds here, so it's gonna be a little tricky, right? King e7. We have two moves to look at. Knight g7. Knight g7 is the main line, and then this move knight back. Knight back. Let's look at this. Knight back. Now what we do, we go bishop c4, defending all these squares without the king. So now the square is also defended. Knight back. And here we come with the king. We go king back up, knight here, bishop back, all forced. This line is all very, very forced. Black has nothing better to do than to give this check, because after knight a8, the knight is trapped again. So black has nothing better to do than to give this check. We come here to make sure the knight doesn't escape. Again, knight has nothing better to do than to give this check, because if here if here, then this move would trap the knight. Very nice. Knight has nothing better to do than to give this check. And now we come to this very important square, and the knight is trapped. That's pretty complicated. I have to admit. But now we're going to look at the main line. What you've all been waiting for. The explosions, the rockets, the fireworks. The main line, knight to g7. This is the main line. This is the only move. Knight g7. Now we get a new host of candidate moves. Ooh, more candidate moves. We have this move, and this move. This move, immediately I can throw away. Knight h5 check, the knight escapes. Immediately can throw away. Or like even like king up and then the knight escapes. We immediately throw away that move, right? So this move or this move. This move I can also immediately throw away because after knight h6, only move, because the king has no moves this way or this way. Knight h6, only move. We kind of stop the knight from coming in like this. This just looks wrong to me. Like here, what are we doing? Here? We've given him too much. Now our king is too far away, and there are all these reroutes out, right? So that move is pretty easily explainable away. And now the move you all are waiting for, king f8. This is the way to solve this puzzle. King f8. The knight has no moves. The king has no moves. If the king moves away, we win the knight, we win the game. We win the knight, we win the game, right? No, my mouse just kind of broke. But if the king moves away, we win the knight, we win the game. These squares are all covered. This knight covers this square, the king covers this square, and the bishop covers this square. This is the only move. And now we have checkmate. And this is the line. This is the main line. This is a pretty tough puzzle, and if you manage to solve it, really props, because this is a very tough puzzle, especially without like arrows to draw. Solving this is kind of crazy. You're at least like 2100 or 2000 strength on chess.com. I'm going chess.com ratings here, and you should be proud of yourself. For solving this. If you like manage to see like most of the lines, again, be very proud of yourself. This puzzle was very hard. It took me a very long time. That's it. That's all I have for you today. If you enjoyed, remember to like, subscribe to all the normal things that YouTubers telling me you do. Remember to comment your guesses in the comments below. And yeah, that's it. Good evening and good night.